When most people hear the word mentor, they typically think of someone they know personally, a parent or a grandparent, a close friend, a teacher, or a pastor. Maybe it's just because of recent events, but when I hear that word, my mind goes to someone I never personally met, that being Charlie Kirk. The reason my mind goes to Charlie Kirk is because how driven and bold and courageous he was. He started Turning Point USA when he was just 18 years old, and there are stories of him going around the RNC where he met many of the people that would later on be influential in his life, and they saw him collecting donations with a wild dream and nothing but determination and boldness, and seeing that dream come to light. By the time he was 22 years old, he was already speaking to the entire RNC, and he continued to grow his organization from there. Years later, he created a subdivision of his organization called Turning Point USA Faith, where he realized that true change doesn't come from policy and legislation, but from Christ. And he wanted to make sure that he was sowing seeds into the church and into that change that comes from Christ. He did this with boldness and courage, with strong convictions, and he never stood down. His top priority was to preach truth and to not compromise on that truth. He did this in the face of scrutiny like few people can possibly imagine. He was assaulted, he was stalked, he was hyper-criticized, and eventually assassinated for this cause. And despite all of that, he stood just as boldly as he did before those tragedies befell him. That's why when I think of the term mentor, my mind goes to Charlie Kirk, because he raised up a generation to stand just as boldly as he did in the face of scrutiny and threats. He's left such an impact on not just me, but other young men and women of my generation to go forth and to be bold in proclaiming, first and foremost, the truth of the gospel and other truths, right? Whether that be the sanctity of life or whether that be God-given identities in that of male and female. He boldly presented these ideas and made sure that when he did so, he left behind a legacy that led other young people to stand up and stand for those truths just as boldly and just as courageously. That's why I think of Charlie Kirk when I hear the term mentor. He did so in a way that captured the hearts of the youth. He went to college campuses and different school events. He spoke at church conferences and in churches themselves. And he did so to push his movement and his message further. And ultimately, the message was not his own, but that of Christ's. And I aspire to have that same boldness and courage in my faith. It has pushed me to be bolder in my faith, and it has pushed me to go into the public arena and fight for Christ in the art of debate and intelligent discussion. Thank you.